Welcome to Streaming Into the Void, where we discuss the streaming news for the week ending April 26th, 2026. I'm Kim Hollis, digital marketing expert, always the #1 overall draft pick on this podcast.
Aww.
With me is Tim Brady, content creator, gamer, and Mr. Irrelevant.
I go with this one every year, but I guess it's less funny since, Brock Purdy made a Super Bowl one year, but I'll just keep going with it.
Also, David Mumpower, author of Disney Demystified and streaming media analyst, Day 3 draft pick extraordinaire.
Okay, I know you heard that both my knees are wrecked, but, I'm actually a bad pick. You shouldn't have done this.
And the podcast is produced and edited by Raul Buriel, picked 5th in this year's Streaming Into the Void draft.
Come on!
We miss you, Reagan.
This week, we've got a lot of stupid stories, so let's do a rapid fire. In Paramount Warner Brothers news, Warner Brothers Discovery shareholders approved the merger of the two companies, but rejected the $886 million payday for WBD CEO David Zaslav.
Oh no! Well, too bad the vote is non-binding.
Damn it.
David Zaslav is coming out of this debacle nearly $1 billion richer, but he wants us all to know that he really tried to save the company, and he would have gotten away with it too if not for that pesky board of directors. His hands were tied, people.
So if you're one of the several thousand people laid off at Warner Brothers Discovery over the last 5 years, I want you to know that David Zaslav has your money. So at least you know where to find it.
Meanwhile, Netflix is moving on. They may not have bought Warner Brothers Studios, but they're looking to buy Radford Studios instead.
Yeah, Netflix actually operates in several movie lots across the country, and they're building a massive movie studio at the former Fort Monmouth Army base in New Jersey. And for a few years, they've actually been renting space at Sunset Bronson Studios in Hollywood. But with that lease about to expire, they're looking to buy Radford Studios. And if you don't recognize that name, you might recognize it under their previous name, CBS Studio Center in Studio City, which Sherry Redstone and Paramount, desperate for money, sold in 2021. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Netflix is just going to wait for everyone to go bankrupt and then buy up all their assets.
We almost need like a graph for this one. If you look at it, Netflix is looking around going, we need space. Should we go to Warner Brothers? No, let's pick this thing. And this thing turns out to be the thing that had been Paramount, is not Paramount now. It is exhausting figuring any of it out. But the long story short is when we look at this, we see Netflix really is just going to pick the bones.
Meanwhile, Paramount's still trying to figure out this whole streaming thing as they quietly premiered a show on Paramount Plus and then just as quietly removed it.
Streaming is hard, y'all. After Paramount closed out their deal to buy out Tyler Perry's stake in BET Plus, it was expected that they would fold that streaming service and move the content over into Paramount Plus. And that's how season 7 of a show you may have never heard of, Tyler Perry's political drama, The Oval, came to premiere on Paramount Plus on April 15th with little fanfare. But now it appears that may have been a mistake, as the new episodes were yanked from the streamer just 7 days later on April 22nd.
And Raul says you may have never heard of it, but I know that some people have watched because I have seen the social media posts of what just happened. I was 3 episodes into the new season and it vanished. That's a real thing that happened without explanation. So the whole thing is just indefensible.
Season 7.
Tim, I think it actually might have been a licensing nightmare. One of the attorneys must have messed something up.
And how does this happen?
Yeah. And Paramount's also getting grief for overhauling the Paramount Plus mobile app to prioritize short form and vertical video. But given that Paramount is controlled by the Ellison family, who now control TikTok in the US as well, this should come as no surprise to anyone. We also recently told you how Disney Plus and Peacock mobile apps have been overhauled to prioritize vertical video and short form content. It's likely that people aren't watching watching long form series and movies on their phones. But if you're watching Paramount Plus content on your tablets or set-top box, you probably won't even notice a change.
Having said that, this actually is a cataclysmic circumstance from my perspective on what we're witnessing here. Raul and I have been having the discussion about microdramas, and he has said that he doesn't think that craze is going to take over. He may be right. I believe it's going to happen just because studios want it to happen, and this is the latest example. We have all of these streaming services that are not making enough money right now. And so they're trying to figure out how to make their balance sheets look better. And the simple explanation is they want to pay less for content. And when something is shorter, it doesn't cost as much to make. Or if you're just collating stuff you've already made into very short form video highlights, well, that's basically free. You only have to pay the staff to do that, which is trivial. So this is the future that all of the companies that have taken over Hollywood want, rather than what the Hollywood content creators want. So we're seeing kind of a quiet civil war evolve right before our eyes, and this was a huge step. I do not want to undersell this. Paramount is telling you right now, they just cut a check for $111 billion right after Skydance cut another check for $8 billion. Skydance is basically over $120 billion into this when you factor in the money they gave to Netflix to drop out of Warner Brothers Discovery. So they don't want to spend right now, and this is their hope and their solution. And I'm also having a conversation right now with some other people. Could it possibly be that they're going to try and make TikTok a paid thing? Raul, you had ideas on both of these things, don't you?
Well, yeah, the TikTok thing, and I think we could all agree that once you've put out a free service out there, trying to get people to start paying for it seems highly unlikely. But is there going to maybe be a ad-free version of TikTok at some point, and they're going to make the free TikTok experience so onerous that people are just going to want to have to pay for the ad-free version? That seems very likely. Tim, you called it
That's the YouTube model.
The YouTube model, exactly, which takes us back to the previous conversation, as what's happening here is people have looked to see how these YouTube shorts are so incredibly popular, and you, in fact, probably don't have to pay an editor to create these shorts. By and large, they're just AI generated, and the studios are looking to see that, wow, someone's taking a whole bunch of clips from our movies and TV shows and compressing them down to like 10 seconds on a YouTube short, and it's getting a bunch of eyeballs. Why don't we do that on our own app? That's what's happening now on the mobile apps. So it's unquestionably a way to remonetize content that you have previously produced. It's virtually free, and it means you don't have to create new shows. You don't have to hire new talent, new writers, directors, and actors. You just have to recut a show you already own. It's stupid. I hate it. This is not how you're supposed to be watching a movie or a TV show, but boy, are people watching this content.
I'm sorry, what were you saying? I was looking at my phone.
Exactly.
There's good news for fans of the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
Hooray! The real-life drama of these Mormon wives may have led to the cancellation of a full series of The Bachelorette and cost Disney millions of dollars, but that's not stopping Disney's Hulu from moving ahead with production of a new season, and if that's not enough for you folks, a spin-off set in Orange County.
You say may not have stopped it. I say that's cause and effect. They need more money, so now they're like, okay, go ahead and do that stupid spinoff.
Finally, I guess we need to tell you about Comcast earnings.
Earnings is doing a lot of work there.
Yeah, the good news for Comcast is that the company brought in an additional $2.2 billion in revenue in the last quarter, thanks to the Winter Olympics and the Super Bowl. The bad news is that their Peacock streaming service is still hemorrhaging money. Peacock posted a loss of $432 million in the quarter, compared with a loss of $215 million in the same quarter a year ago. And I guess that's good news in that it's down from a loss of $552 million last quarter.
Yeah, the thing we want to mention here, in case you've forgotten, we've been on the lookout for this because we're saying Peacock always struggles when it has more users. We don't know exactly what the cause is, but we are aware of the fact that every time something big happens, that quarter, Peacock loses more money. This time they had the Super Bowl and the Olympics, and oh, by the way, they've now lost more than $400 million again, and this is where we reiterate that only one major streaming service is still losing money. How is a streaming service with the Olympics and the Super Bowl losing $400 million? We can't tell you that, but we can say that Comcast seems to be completely apathetic about the future of Peacock.
Yeah, broadly speaking here, Nielsen's The Gauge indicated that NBC Universal and Versant combined snapped up 13% of viewership in February, likely due to Olympic viewing and the Super Bowl. And Peacock's subscribers grew to 46 million in that last quarter, and that's up 2 million or 5% from the previous quarter and 5 million from the same quarter the year before. That's just not a lot of growth. I feel that Peacock's growth has reached critical mass. This is as many people as NBC Universal and the parent company Comcast can expect to add to Peacock ever now, based on basically Olympic viewing. You're not going to get any more. That's it.
We've suspected all along that the game plan here was for Comcast to do its spinoff of Versant and then Warner Brothers Discovery to do its spinoff of its cable companies and that combination to become an entity. And then we expected HBO Max and Peacock to become a combination. And since Paramount and Netflix both jumped in and blew that up, we don't know what the plan is for Peacock, but we do know that this is not a sustainable model. But we've also been saying that for 5 years now. It just seems like Peacock is going to be a continued blight on Comcast, and not the only one, because here is an actual quote from the earnings call transcript. We saw a notable improvement in broadband performance, narrowing our losses by over 100,000 versus the previous year. They're not saying they grew. They're saying that they didn't lose by quite as much as a year ago, and that's their broadband, which is their bread and butter. We don't understand this company.
So, Tim, I do think we have some box office to talk about, don't we?
Yeah. So when I saw Project Hail Mary, there were a couple trailers that I really liked. There was one I was just like, wow, this looks terrible. And that would be Michael, the Michael Jackson biopic. It, in fact, is terrible. 38% fresh at Rotten Tomatoes. That did not stop a single person from going to see this because it made $39.9 million on Friday, with 12 million of that coming on Thursday. What the heck? This is going to be like an $88 million weekend for this movie. I did not see this sort of thing just exploding like that. I know it's one of the most famous people who've ever lived, but like, really? It does obviously sidestep the later stuff, but it just didn't look that good at all. But
it's the fans of the Sega Genesis game Michael Jackson's
Moonwalker? Okay, yes.
One of the best Sega Genesis games.
We dance around the controversy around Michael Jackson, but clearly the filmmakers thought that there was still a built-in audience for this musical artist, despite the controversy. And in fact, I suspect that a lot of that built-in audience would be international as well. Is the movie doing well internationally, Tim?
So far, we have 18.5 million internationally. So that would roughly translate to about 50 million for the weekend. So, I mean, that will bring it to like nearly $150 million worldwide. That's, again, super impressive. I'm curious if it drops off here domestically, but I feel like it could play better long-term worldwide.
The thing I'll throw in is that the studio's estimate for the weekend globally right now is right at 200 million.
Wow.
But the other thing that bears mentioning here, while this is obviously a very popular film, it has a budget that's somewhere in the range of $180 million, which means it has a lot of work to do to be profitable. So, Tim, what you're implying here is maybe this doesn't have legs. It definitely will need to have legs. And so I agree with you. I think it's an open question and we're going to have to pay more attention. But yeah, I did not think it would be this big. I thought it would be in the 60s. So I'm kind of flabbergasted.
Yes, it's a very expensive movie, not the least of which because they, in fact, had to refilm the ending because of the controversy surrounding Michael Jackson. I suspect very strongly that that this movie is going to be heavily front loaded. There is a number of very rabid, very strong Michael Jackson fans still out there, and they're all probably coming out this first weekend to watch this movie. There is no middle ground. Everyone else is either going to be rather apathetic and not be interested in watching this movie, and then at the other end of the spectrum, there's going to be a lot of people who simply want nothing to do with Michael Jackson because of the controversy. So I don't think this movie is going to have legs whatsoever.
Yeah, it essentially ends in the late 80s around the time of Bad, so therefore ignoring anything he did in the 90s, and when, of course, all the controversy, as we keep dancing around, came out regarding his life and career, especially in the 2000s and his final years. But this breakout was just, I did not see this one coming at all. I think we're all very curious to see what happens beyond this weekend, where it's going to pull in almost $100 million domestically alone. That I did not see coming, especially from just the trailer as well.
All right. Thanks, Tim. Now let's go ahead and talk about the ratings.
All right, so we have the Nielsen streaming ratings for Monday, March 23rd to Sunday, March 29th, 2026. And will I still be talking about most of the same shows over and over again? Yeah, for the most part. Your top original series is Tyler Perry's Beauty in Black, 1.3 billion minutes for its 32 episodes. The second half of its second season, first full week of availability for those episodes, 8 episodes that arrived on March 19th. So no surprise that it stayed on top for another week with a very solid number. The Pit gets closer to its second season finale on HBO Max, of course, 1.2 billion minutes. So super impressive that it's able to pull this in, though I think I may have asked this before. Is this exclusive to HBO Max, or is it on HBO as well?
Yeah, the irony with The Pit is that it is, in fact, an HBO Max exclusive.
Okay.
I think at this point they've learned to start releasing episodes on HBO proper after it premieres on HBO Max. But yeah, this is one of those rare first on HBO Max shows.
I was just curious if it was people watching it on HBO, but no, if this is exclusive to streaming, this is a super, super impressive number, especially for something that's not on Netflix, as I always like to point out. Virgin River was the top show last week. That's in third, 970 billion minutes, 74 episodes for its 7 seasons, and this one will just keep going. The Madison is up to fourth, 921 million minutes for its 6 episodes from Paramount Plus. The latest Taylor Sheridan series, just super impressive. It did release in chunks, though. It was a 6-episode season, 3 episodes on March 14th, the second, third on March 21st. So not a surprise that it took a big jump. So I'm curious to see what happens beyond that. But again, super impressive number for just 1 season for Paramount Plus, because they're not going to do this sort of thing much longer. Maybe. One Piece is fifth from Netflix, 671 million minutes for 16 episodes and 2 seasons after being the top show a few weeks ago. Hulu's Paradise is sixth, 639 million minutes for 16 episodes. While new in seventh, something very bad is going to happen, 486 million minutes for 8 episodes from Netflix. Premiering on March 26th, it is a horror series created by the Duffer Brothers, those Stranger Things guys.
Yeah, this is their follow-up to Stranger Things, although their involvement is rather tenuous. They produce it. It's not like
they made it. They just, they're just, right. But it has that connection, so I'm curious if that contributed to its performance here. Prime Video's Invincible is 8th, 474 million minutes for 29 episodes. Bridgerton 9th, 450 million minutes for 32 episodes. And something interesting in 10th, this is Peaky Blinders, 449 million minutes for 36 episodes. No, this did not have new episodes, but last week we did see the premiere on the movies chart of the movie continuation of the series, and that apparently spilled over into interest for the show. That's a very surprising effect that we don't see too often, but I always like when it happens. And it managed to crack the originals chart despite concluding in 2022. Movies is led by Anaconda, 730 million minutes from Netflix. Yes, this is the remake / reboot of it that released in theaters in December.
Paul Rudd and Jack Black, I think?
Jack Black, yes. Arriving on Netflix on March 25th. A very meta movie where it's
kind of a parody of a couple of guys remaking
who
the Jennifer Lopez
Anaconda,
movie.
Yes.
I was shocked to see this on the charts. I was wondering if it was in fact the original, because this can't be on the charts already. I
was really disappointed that
week?
Nielsen did not put the year on it. I was kind of hoping they would. It's definitely not the original. It is the new one because it is new to Netflix. It was in theaters in December. It arrived on Netflix this week. So, yep, not a surprise. It's the top movie. I'm curious to see what happens from here. But Roll, you had said, oh, now I know what I'm watching. I'm like debating if I need to see this. I didn't remember how the reviews were.
I saw the number and started laughing because I'm looking at it going, boy, even Netflix can't make people want to watch that. This is not a high number.
It's not,
so
we've had worse. We had better, yeah.
Even the not at all discriminating fans of Netflix are like, oh, I don't know about that one.
So yeah, we'll see what happens from there. But that's a middling start. Yeah, 730. Again, we've seen movies top that chart with a worse number, but we've also seen considerably better. Zootopia 2 was one of those movies that did considerably better when it premiered. It's in second, 648 million minutes from Disney Plus. It's been around for a few weeks now. While new to Netflix in third, The Bad Guys 2, 576 million minutes, arriving on March 21st. Oh, yes, this one was also from last year. It was August. Let's see. Oh, it was a universal release. Oh, okay. So you know what that means. It was most certainly on Peacock all this whole time, but then in March, Netflix makes it their second most successful movie for the week. Of course they do. Same thing happened to Minions, The Rise of Gru, 423 million minutes. This one's credited to Netflix and Peacock. This one arrived on Netflix on March 23rd. This is the Despicable Me spinoff, kind of a prequel to Minions, and we're going to get another one of those. Oh, okay. We have a Minions movie coming later this year, don't we? Okay. New in fifth, Mercy, 392 million minutes from Prime Video. When I saw this, I said, oh, did we talk about this one on What's New for this week? I don't remember this one at all. And then I looked it up and I was like, oh, that's right. It was a theatrical release in January. So that's how much this registered. Yes, this was
Chris Pratt in a chair.
Pratt. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Released in January and then on Prime Video on March 22nd. So roughly 2 months after its release, there it is on streaming. Did not do great in theaters. Didn't do great on streaming either. But yes, this one was a 2026 release. One of the first ones we've had on the ratings chart this year. In sixth, The Creator, 305 million minutes from Netflix.
Speaking of films that didn't do well in theaters, this a super expensive Disney film that only earned 40 million total.
Oh, yeah. This one was a theatrical release in September 2023.
100 million worldwide on an $80 million budget.
Oh my. Okay. Yeah. The subject matter feels awfully topical. It's regarding a future where AI went horribly wrong. Huh. I wonder where they got that idea from.
Tim does not speak for me, AI. I want to be clear on that.
It was new to Netflix on March 20th. I don't know where it was before. I'm sure it was some other studio at some point. It was a 20th century film, so yeah, maybe it was on Hulu, but nope, now it's on Netflix, and that's why it's here. Peaky Blinders, The Immortal Man, in 292 million minutes. Again, we saw that premiere last week, and that led to people checking out the series, which put it on the originals chart. Netflix's War Machine, 241 million minutes in 8th, and Peacock's Wicked for Good, 209 million minutes in 9th. And movies wraps up with Sisu, Road to Revenge, 184 million minutes. This is, of course, the sequel to Sisu, a movie series that I can best describe as Finish John Wick.
It's the Let's Kill Nazis movie.
Yes. Just nothing but violence, ridiculous, nonsensical violence. This one arrived on Netflix on March 21st after releasing late in 2025 in theaters. Acquired is 10 shows we have seen before, led by Grey's Anatomy, 176 million minutes for its 464 episodes and counting. Credited to Hulu and Netflix, of course. No surprises on this one this week. Gunsmoke slips back into 10th, 444 million minutes, was good for 10th place this week for its episodes. Still a lot of the same shows on originals. So we had some new movies. We are flipping the calendar next month, so I'm curious to see if beginning of April brings some more ridiculous old movies back to the movies chart, but I'm hoping for some more turnover on originals quite soon.
In our previous discussion, The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives had 722 million viewer minutes. This time you would only need 444 million minutes to make the list, and it's not here. Is it possible that Nielsen made a mistake, or is it possible that controversy actually hurt a Hulu reality show? I'm baffled by this.
Yeah, it might be a combination of that and the fact that I don't know if this one's interesting beyond the first season. You know, I do remember hearing about that whole mom talk thing, which is basically why they got a show. After that, it just kind of feels like, well, it's cheap to make. Let's just keep making it. And I'm curious if it's got its fans that checked it out when it arrived and then they didn't care anymore. But yeah, it is very interesting how it just fell off the list after 2 weeks. Oh, I do also need to point out that there is no K-pop Demon Hunters on the movies chart this week. That's the first time that's happened in a while, with the exception of the Christmas takeover when the numbers shot up super high. So that is curious that it was under 184 million minutes this week. But yeah, I would lean towards it just not really having much of an audience beyond that's hardcore viewers after the first week. You would think the controversy might add to it, but I just think there's enough people that would really care.
Okay, thank you, Tim. As always, we close it out with what's been keeping us busy over the last week. And I finished reading a book that I have read before, but probably not since I was a preteen. When I was younger, when I was a child, I guess, I read all of Agatha Christie's books. I checked out every one from the library and brought it home. I think I've talked about it here before. This time it was Death on the Nile, one of her more famous mysteries, and it still holds up so well. It's so good. Poirot is amazing. I love both his self-assurance and also just the fact that everyone knows he has that too. I still remember things from the book, which is kind of incredible given how long it's been since I read it. But I remembered who the killer was, how they did it, and what happened. But it's fun. It's fun to revisit Agatha Christie after all this time. I still enjoy those mysteries a great deal, and I'm glad that I picked it back up. Raul, how about you?
We tend to joke a lot about how, despite the fact that we're a streaming podcast, we just end up watching YouTube all the time. I wanted to just rattle off a number of the YouTube shows I've been watching lately. The fact of the matter is that YouTube is basically must-watch viewing for me. And it's not just I turn on YouTube and I see what's on. There is specifically scheduled programming on YouTube at this point that I watch every day. And that starts with, on Monday, I watch new episodes from Baumgartner Restoration. This is a art restorer who does restorations of paintings. And Tom Scott is back on YouTube weekly doing new travel shows now across the UK. And a guy called Chris Haifa is doing a restoration of a Philadelphia roadhouse, and he puts out a new episode every week. And I finish my Mondays off usually with the latest tech news from Linus Tech Tips on their Tech Linked show. On Tuesdays, invariably, I'm going to be watching the Vlog Brothers. This is John and Hank Green. They put out new episodes every Tuesday and Friday, and they'll talk on a number of different topics, but I always watch. Wednesday's a lot of fun because that's when, right now, the new episodes of Jetlag the Game are coming out. These also can be watched earlier on the Nebula subscription service. These are produced by Sam Denby, who it's a wonder he has time to star in Jetlag the Game, given the amount of content he produces. This is what amounts to a very friendly version of The Amazing Race. It's Sam and several other YouTube creators doing some kind of wacky travel contest. Right now, they're playing a game where they are, quote unquote, capturing different train stations in Taiwan. But also on Wednesdays, I watch Jenna Phipps, who is a YouTube creator out of Vancouver, who is restoring a mid-century modern house there. So yes, restorations is a big part of my YouTube watching. And Wednesdays is also when a second episode of Tech Linked drops every week. Thursdays is right now when you can watch new episodes of Taskmaster. And this latest season is a lot of fun, if only because we get to watch Kumail Nanjiani fail. He is trying so hard. Taskmaster is basically a competition show between comedians. Last season, we had Jason Mantzoukas on as, I think, their first American competitor. And Jason just went over the top, wacky, and wild. He wasn't there to win. He was there to make people laugh. Kumail Nanjiani just really, really wants to be able to win. And I don't think I've seen anyone try so hard and fail so spectacularly since they had James Acaster on the show. Oh, you really feel for him. Also, he is by far the most famous person they've ever had on the show. Literally, there's a moment when he walks onto the set and there's the two other competitors there with him, and one of them leans in and whispers to the other, "He's so famous." And they were just starstruck by him. It's hilarious. Thursday is when Linus Tech Tips also drops their weekly Game Linked episode, and this is gaming news. And Sam Denby also puts out his Half as Interesting and Wendover production episodes. Half as Interesting is where he gives you a weekly story about something he's learned, like the longest train ride through Asia or something like that. While Wendover Productions is when he uses his serious voice to tell you about, for instance, the logistics of the oil industry around the world. Friday is when the second Vlogbrother episode drops, and also Friday nights. I think David and Kim and I all remember Friday nights is when the last episode of Tech Linked drops every week. But it's not over, because then Saturday mornings I get new episodes of Tech Moan and Adrian's Digital Basement, which is two people who tell us about weird and old technology. And I also get to watch Steve Marsh, who's a travel YouTuber. Right now, he's actually traveling around the world on the Queen Mary 2. And so he's putting out a new episode every week to tell us about his trip around the world. And Sunday mornings is when I get episodes from Tia Weston and Emma Shea, two women who are doing home restorations. It's weird. Yes, I grew up for years watching This Old House, and now I find This Old House to be old and stodgy and not really entertaining, and yet I'm watching all these other YouTubers restoring houses instead. It is a full week of content, and this is why I am just not catching up on other shows on Netflix and Peacock and Paramount Plus and Apple TV, because YouTube is giving me all this other content for free. So I wonder why I'm even bothering to pay for all those other subscriptions. But every once in a while, I do watch something like, yes, I'll probably watch Anaconda tonight, and so I'll break it to you next week, whether or not it was worth watching.
All right, Tim, what's been keeping you busy?
So this week I played a game called Mouse PI for Hire. It is a first-person shooter, and apparently it has been given the subgenre boomer shooter, I guess, because it evokes the old-timey, like 90s types of shooters where it's just the first-person perspective. You don't see your character, you just see the gun, and there's enemies everywhere, and ammo, and health potions just all over the place. It's not my usual genre because I'm generally bad at these types of games, but why I was drawn to it is done in a black and white animation style that evokes the 1930s, I guess, rubber hose animation, as it's called. Think like early Disney, like Steamboat Willie type of thing. And I was just immediately drawn to it just because of how cool that animation style is. It looks amazing. The animation is so smooth. It plays very fluidly. It is pretty fun. I had to turn it down to the lowest difficulty in most parts because, again, I'm bad at these types of games and just getting shot all over the place. But the visual style is awesome. The music is fantastic. The story is pretty boilerplate. You're a detective and your initial investigation leads to all these twists and turns and conspiracies, and there's, femme fatales. All the characters, of course, are rodents, are mice, but it is just such a really, really cool thing that they were able to pull this off. The guns are predictably goofy. They start out with pretty basic pistols and shotguns, but turn into just ridiculous things that melt the characters, or they're blown up in just piles of dust with just eyes. I was reminded of a game from a few years ago, Cuphead, which had the very similar style. I did not play that one because of its purported ridiculous difficulty, but this one, at least, that has difficulty settings that make it much easier and tolerable for someone who's bad at shooters like me. But if it's your sort of thing, definitely check it out. I will see it through till the end because I'm curious just to see how it plays out. It is extremely well reviewed on Steam. It is overwhelmingly positive at 95% positive. So it's a lot of fun, and I think they're going to add more content or some sort of expansion later on as well.
And David, what's been keeping you busy?
Yeah, I am halfway through the new season of For All Mankind. They release weekly, so I'm pretty much caught up to live TV, and the show has definitely outlived its usefulness to a certain extent, but I am enjoying the ideas they're exploring this season. And in the wake of Artemis 2, it's just nice to watch something that is pure sci-fi like this. The early seasons of For All Mankind, I recommend so strongly because they're excellent writing. Since then, they've been trying some things, and it's had, less successful results at times, but also some high points. So that's why I keep watching, is for the high points. And then Kim and I have also caught up on this season of Top Chef, and it's an interesting season because there's a couple on it, both competing, and there are twins on it, both competing. You can kind of see Top Chef is a different kind of reality show, and the reason why it's the only reality show we watch these days, there was actually an article about this the other day, it's the positivity. During the first few seasons of Top Chef, it kind of fell into that Bravo ethical black hole where they wanted drama. And what eventually happened was the chefs kind of imposed their wills by saying, no, being a chef is a collaborative thing. You need everyone in the kitchen working together. We don't want to be against each other. We want to be more of a team. And that was on full display in the season premiere this year when a contestant wasn't able to finish their dish in time, and they had the first panic attack of their life. And it was hard to watch. I have since read an interview with the person. They had no conception of what a panic attack was. And so their struggles were so real. And there's something you'll never see on any any other reality show, and that's the co-host, Kristen Kish. She and Tom Colicchio are the main hosts of the program. She stopped what she was doing and she went to assist the person during the panic attack. This was a very human woman making sure to help someone else in a time of need. And that's what we want from reality television, is we want to see the best at something trying to prove where they stand in the pecking order while still being collaborative and not at all destructive to one another. Top Chef is just better than everything else.
Thank you, David, and thank you for listening to Streaming Into the Void. Please consider subscribing wherever you listen to podcasts, and we welcome your feedback. Remember that we're on social media at Streaming Void and online at streamingvoid.com. If you like what you're hearing, please consider becoming a supporter on Patreon at patreon.com/streamingvoid. Be sure to watch for us again next week.